I've always believed that if all the right people hate you, then you're doing a good job. You are right over the target. And Donald Trump has always been pretty much the hallmark example of this. And all of the despicable creatures on the left, all the despicable creatures on the right, all of them in the media and sports and Hollywood, basically every intellectual degenerate ever hates Donald Trump. So to me, this is an indicator to most thinking people that Donald Trump is good. Now, apply that to Kamala Harris and the left. Like, what happens? Like, how do you react when all the wrong people start to support you? You have all the agitators, you got all the true card-carrying commies, and you got all the guys that you used to call Satan.
Dick Cheney, your father, a beloved figure among Democrats for many, many years. Do you, if you know who he will be supporting or who he'll be voting for, do you care to share with us who he might be voting for?
Dick Cheney will be voting for Kamala Harris.
Okay. Wow. Words I never expected to hear.
It's sort of amazing when you think about it, man. A room full of trained liberal SEALs cheering at the wisdom and character of Darth Vader Dick Cheney in the year 2024, man. That is freaking amazing stuff, right? But that's just one room of liberals. I mean, listen to the geniuses over at MSNBC trying to explain to the rest of the trained liberals how this is good, how the alignment in the dark side is actually a good thing.
Tim Miller, your thoughts?
Well, Nicole, I mean, in some ways, obviously, this is a shock. It's an earthquake. Dick Cheney, Darth Vader, voting for the Democrat should be a wake-up call to everybody. In other ways, it's not that much of a surprise because of what we've seen from Liz Cheney and just the backbone from the Cheneys. I want to go back to Dick cut an ad for her in her primary that she lost to a MAGA Republican when she was sacrificed at the altar of Donald Trump's insurrection by the Republican Party. And in that ad, he said, in our nation's 246-year history, there has never been an individual that was a greater threat to the Republic than Donald Trump. There's nothing more important that Liz will ever do than lead the effort to make sure Donald Trump is never again near the Oval Office, and she will succeed. I mean, that's as straightforward as it gets. That is classic Dick Cheney. If love him or hate him, he always was clear-eyed about what he thought was the right approach. And in this case, Dick Cheney is looking at this and saying Donald Trump is as the greatest threat in the history of the Republic. I mean, that is not mincing words. So I agree with everything you said in the intro. I think this is huge news. It also means we should mention that now the last two Republican VPs will not be voting for Trump. Mike Pence is neutral, I guess. And Dick Cheney so Donald Trump's own VP is not voting for him. And then the previous Republican VP is voting against him. I think that's pretty telling. And then I think
what's telling is liberals doing mental gymnastics to spin the support of a guy they spent decades telling us that he was the incarnation of evil. You know, Mike Pence was a religious zealot, Christo-fascist, which has got to be my favorite new leftist word. And Dick Cheney was an authoritarian war criminal. And now both are welcomed as heroes into the fold of Democrat politics. I mean, luckily, to the chagrin of every single Democrat, the internet still exists.
Vice President Cheney interpretation of the vice president?
Vice President Cheney's been the most dangerous vice president we've had probably in American history. He has the idea he doesn't realize that Article 1 of the Constitution defines the role of the Vice President of the United States. That's the executive. He works in the executive branch. He should understand that. Everyone should understand that. The only authority the Vice President has from a legislative standpoint is to vote. Only when there is a tie vote. He has no authority relative to the Congress. The idea he's part of the legislative branch is a bizarre notion invented by Cheney to aggrandize the power of a unitary executive, and look where it's gotten us. It has been very dangerous.
Let's talk about.
I'm telling you, man, Democrats have hated Dick Cheney so long that they hated him back when Joe Biden could actually think for himself and form real words, right? I mean, honestly, there was a lot of truth to what Joe just said. The whole unitary executive theory, that was a tricky deal. That was a pretty damn slippery slope. But, I mean, Joe Biden himself made sure to outdo them. I think it's pretty easy to argue that the Biden administration has been the most dangerous and most damaging administration that we've ever endured in our entire history. But Joe wasn't the only one that feared and hated Dick. I mean, no pun intended.
We are still trying to figure out what it does to us as a country, and specifically what it does to the Republican Party, to have had somebody that radical in the vice presidency for 8 years. How does that affect the party in an ongoing way, particularly as the party is still sort of trying to find itself? I mean, when George W. Bush left office, his approval rating was 22%, but Dick Cheney's was 13%. Herpes was more popular than Dick Cheney when he left office. America woke up from the Bush years by saying, oh my God, what were we smoking? But Dick Cheney is the concentrated distillate left in the bong water. He is everything America most hates and most hated about Republican radicalism in those years. It all went through him. Just his history alone is the history of what the Bush administration will be famous for if the history of the Bush administration is written by unkind people.
Yeah, so there's that. And I can only imagine, man, that tonight, on the only day that she actually works anymore, that same person, the same Rachel Maddow, is going to tell you what a selfless and patriotic hero Dick Cheney has become. I mean, the same people that were happy when the guy had a heart attack would kiss the dude full on the lips right now today. And again, they'll do it all without even thinking about, what does it mean? What does it mean that a valueless, characterless, selfish, all the people like that support the same candidate that they do? I mean, it's pretty remarkable stuff, but that's all I got, man. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you haven't already, be a part of our growth. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Most importantly, share the channel. I'll see you in the next one.